rich man. But the bed cursed her body. One by one, women left his body sick, broken, or worse. He promised them love, money, and gifts, but what he gave was destruction. For since the day he lost his mother to poverty, nothing mattered anymore. While the women wasted away, he grew richer and younger. His evil bed fed on their souls.
In Banana Island, Lagos, the other lady gave up in a pool of blood. Another repeated after she found flies and maggots coming out from under in her body. Now Zara, the girl who just want to be rich. Silk sheets clung to Zara's thighs, sticky with sweat, though the air conditioner hummed at its coldest. On the carpet lay the gifts of the night, a velvet pouch of diamonds, a Mercedes key fob, and an envelope fat with US dollars. Her body felt strange. The pleasure that had left her dizzy hours ago had hardened into dread. Something slithered low inside her, not pain, not cramp, but movement. She staggered off the bed, pressing her legs together, willing herself not to panic. But panic was all that remained. The bathroom mirror glared white. Zara pulled her lace underwear down and froze. Between her trembling thighs, something gleamed wetly in the light. Scales, shifting, alive. A serpent coiled within her, twisting where no serpent belonged. Her scream cracked the silence. His name was Yomi, but Toni, as he preferred women to call him, appeared in the doorway. He was on his shorts, skin smooth as if time avoided him, eyes calm in a way that mocked her terror. Gush! He was beautiful, dangerously beautiful, with the kind of face Lagos socialites reposted endlessly. But in that moment, beauty meant nothing. "Breathe," he said, soft as silk. "It is nothing." "Nothing?" Zara's knees buckled. She gripped the marble counter, gasping.
Toni, what is wrong with me? What have you done to me?
She shouted, watching the serpent shift before her eyes.
Oh my God, I'm just a girl who just want to have fun,
She said, crying and screaming. She looked up at the mirror, and it betrayed her. The reflection moved slower than she did. Worse still, it smiled when her mouth was open in horror. They whispers that Lagos wealth hides a price. Now she was staring at the bill. Her mind flickered back to earlier. The heat of his hands on her hips. The way she had gone down on him while the sheet seemed to inhale with every movement. The bed had not been still. It had responded. Every sigh, every kiss, every gasp had made the mattress pulse like flesh. She had thought it was passion. But passion doesn't breathe when you do.
Why me?
She whispered. Her voice was thin, cracked. He stepped closer. You wanted more than love. You wanted gifts, cars, diamonds. I give freely. Her stomach lurched as the serpent pressed against her insides, as if responding to his words. She felt its tongue flick against her flesh before it withdrew deeper, coiling tighter. She gagged and staggered back.
You're cursed.
She spat, voice shaking. No. He smiled, cruel in its calm. I am blessed. They only call it curse when it is not theirs. Zara's legs gave way. She crumpled to the cold marble, sweat dripping, her diamonds clinking across the tiles as the pouch spilled open. In the mirror, her reflection had already begun to wrinkle, fine lines creasing her flawless skin, her cheeks hollowing faintly. Her body was trading its youth to keep his beauty intact. The serpent stirred again. She shrieked, curling into herself. Toni crouched, stood there watching her. He reached out and brushed her hair back, tender as a lover. Lesson, he whispered. Her breath hitched. She knew then, with brutal clarity, what this was. Not romance, not generosity, but a contract in flesh. And she was the payment. Toni Adeyemi had grown up in this maze of zinc and mud, of Ajagunle in Lagos State. Last son of a broken carpenter, handsome even as a boy. He was cursed with the kind of beauty that made the poor mock him harder. Fine boy way no get shishi, they called him. Beautiful but broke, skin smooth, shoes torn. Girls would laugh in daylight and sneak glances at him in the dark, knowing he was danger disguised as possibility. His mother died in cold-blooded. Because he couldn't afford to buy her drugs, neither could. She died on his laps and he couldn't do anything because he was poor to stupor. Yet, people whom he ran errands for never helped him. Poor boy, after the death of his mother. Nothing ever mattered to him anymore. He worked small jobs, pushing wheelbarrows in Mile 2 Market, patching generators for neighbors, running errands for traders who never tipped. This was what they used to eat and cater for themselves at home after he lost. His dad. His eyes always lingered on the big men, the sharp-dressed, alhajas in white kaftans, the politicians' sons speeding through ajagonle in tinted jeeps, the wealthy men with gold chains heavy enough to pay his family's rent for a year. Toni had grown into his looks, tall, sculpted, a face that could command a room. He'd sleep on bare concrete, but when he walked into a bar, people thought he was already famous. He discovered something useful. Women with money noticed him. Older women, married women, widows who craved distraction. They called him handsome boy, bought him food, paid for his clothes. One of them, a boutique owner in Surulere, kept him as her secret for almost a year. But beauty couldn't pay enough. The more he tasted soft beds and perfume-scented sheets, the more his hunger grew. Not hunger for food, hunger for power. One night, sitting outside a smoky buka, he overheard 3 old men whispering, their voices low, their laughter heavy with knowledge. They spoke of Ikoyi rituals, of wealthy men who became gods after midnights. Toni leaned closer. He caught one phrase that would change his life. Some men plant seeds in women, but some plant serpents. Those ones never go broke. He couldn't shake it. Weeks later in Ikoyi, he found the man they'd been talking about, Mr. Gray studied him, smiled once, and said, "You want wealth? You want to become very rich that you can have any woman you want? Then understand this. Having fun on the bed can be a gift or it can be an altar. Which will you choose?" Toni swallowed. His hunger answered before his fear. Altar. The deal was simple, brutal, final. His body would give women pleasure beyond reason. They would leave richer than they came. But each climax would carve a piece of them away and feed it back into him. They would rot slowly, beautifully, tragically. He would grow younger, stronger, richer. Every bed would become an altar, every moan a sacrifice. And when Mr. Gray sealed the deal, he whispered the line Toni would repeat for the rest of his life. Give freely, collect silently. Ikoyi at night had 2 faces. On one side, champagne glasses clinked in rooftop bars, and the city's elite laughed over seafood flown in from Dubai. On the other, down quiet streets where mansions hid behind black gates. Toni followed Mr. Gray into one of those silent houses. The gate opened without a guard. The building looked ordinary from outside, but the air grew thicker the deeper they walked. Inside, the marble floors gleamed like a river of bone. Remove your shirt, Mr. Gray said. His voice carried no accent, no warmth, just command. Toni obeyed. In the center of the living room was a bed, out of place, wrong, its legs carved with writhing figures. The headboard seemed to shift when his eyes lingered too long, as if it were breathing. Mr. Gray gestured. Lie down. Toni hesitated, then climbed onto the bed. The mattress sighed under him like it had been waiting. The sheets were cool at first, then warm. Too warm. Alive warm. The room darkened though no lights went off. Shadows pressed against the walls, and in the corner a figure appeared. Half woman, half serpent, her eyes gold like molten metal. She crawled closer, her body moving in ways human spines should not. Toni's throat tightened, but his hunger was louder than his fear. The serpent woman straddled him, whispering in a tongue that felt older than the city itself. Her lips were ice when they touched his, her skin cold and hot at once. She moved with him, around him, through him, and every moment felt like drowning and breathing at once. Pleasure stabbed deep, sharp enough to be pain, sweet enough to be addiction. His body arched, and when he cried out, it wasn't his voice anymore. It was layered with whispers, a chorus of women long gone. When it ended, the serpent woman's because was nobody dissolved into smoke that crawled into the sheets. The bed exhaled. Slow and satisfied, Mr. Gray stepped forward, eyes gleaming. Now it begins. Every woman you touch will leave with gifts, but they will carry something back to you. Their sickness will be your strength, their ruin, your rebirth. Toni sat up, dizzy, his chest heaving. Already he felt different, stronger, sharper, the ache of hunger replaced with fire. Mr. Gray's smile was thin, cruel. Say the words. The deal was sealed. Outside, Lagos carried on, the sound of night markets and taxi horns filling the distance. But in that mansion, on that bed, a new urban legend had been born, and by morning, Ajagunli's poor boy would take his first step toward Banana Island. This is where Toni's power is tested for the first time. Lagos never sleeps. On the mainland, Ajagunle groaned under the weight of hunger, but on the island, music throbbed through glass towers. Toni, now dressed in tailored suits he could never afford a week ago, walked into nightclubs where nobody remembered his torn shoes. Wealth is a spirit that wears you like a mask, and Toni had just put his on. The first woman came easy, an Instagram model with 200,000 followers, her body carved for likes and brand deals. She noticed him in the club, drawn by the calm on his face, the gold watch on his wrist. Within hours, she was in his new Lekki apartment, laughing as he poured champagne. The night blurred into silken shadows. She thought she was conquering him, but the bed knew better. Every sigh she made, the mattress pulsed beneath her, breathing with them, a silent witness. When she went down on him, curtains fluttered, through the windows were sealed. She gasped, mistaking the supernatural for romance. By morning he pressed an envelope into her hand, thick with cash. A velvet pouch of jewelry on the dresser. "Take it," he whispered, smiling. "I give freely." She left glowing, posting cryptic captions on her Instagram story. "God has blessed me." But 3 nights later, her body betrayed her. Alone in her bathroom, she vomited. Not food, not drink, but maggots, writhing and black. They poured from her mouth into the sink, crawling against the porcelain. She screamed until her neighbors broke the door. By then, her skin was already peeling, her cheeks hollowing as if years had passed in hours. Doctors shook their heads. Churches prayed. Nothing worked. She was 23, but her reflection in the mirror showed a woman of 50. Beauty can be traded for power, and hers had been sold without her knowing. The second woman was older. She is a politician's mistress, used to being in control. She thought she was the one choosing Toni, taking him as a secret. He let her think so. In the dim light of his Banana Island suite, she whispered into his ear as she moved against him. The sheets grew warmer with every motion, and the air thickened until she was gasping for breath. She mistook suffocation for passion. He gave her diamonds afterward, enough to buy silence. But when she returned home, she aged in hours. Her staff swore the fine wrinkles crept across her skin like cracks spreading in glass. She locked herself in her bedroom, terrified of mirrors. Within days, she looked older than her husband. Her friends whispered witchcraft, her enemies called it karma. Only Toni knew the truth. The altar bed had collected its price. The third was quick, careless. A party girl with neon nails and laughter that made rooms turn. She left his bed with a car key dangling from her manicured hand. She flaunted it on Instagram Live, bragging, "Not every man in Lagos is stingy." But her joys soured in less than a week. Her stomach began to swell unnaturally, though no pregnancy test showed results. She went to a private clinic. The scan revealed nothing but shadows shifting where organs should be. On the third night, she woke screaming as something sharp pressed inside her belly. Nurses rushed in only to see her skin ripple from within. Something alive clawed beneath her flesh. By dawn, she was gone. Her friends buried her quietly, never speaking Toni's name. And so the pattern began. Each woman walked away with gifts, cars, diamonds, cash. But they carried more than wealth. They carried ruin. Some aged into shadows of themselves. Some grew thin and sick. No hospital able to save them. Some screamed of serpents in their beds, crawling where no serpent should ever crawl. Meanwhile, Toni grew brighter. His skin glowed with youth, his muscles sharpened, his smile perfected. Every gift he gave returned to him multiplied. But beneath his calm, the bed was always waiting. Every night it sighed with hunger, the sheets shifting, the seams whispering. And every night Toni whispered the same words to his lovers. "I give freely." None of them asked what he collected. Banana Island estates became a carnival of wealth. Ferraris humming, private chefs carrying trays of champagne, girls in sequined dresses laughing too loudly. Toni was now the center of those whispers. His house sat on the corner, 3 stories of glass and marble, swimming pools lit from beneath so they glowed like bottled moons. Inside, the air smelled of perfume, expensive cigars, and something else. Something metallic, like blood hiding under sweetness. Every Friday, he hosted parties that Instagram couldn't ignore. Influencers with 1 million followers danced barefoot on his lawn. Politicians' sons drank until dawn. Even pastors, men who preached against worldly pleasures, slipped in wearing baseball caps, too eager to taste what Toni offered. The women came willingly. They always did. His smile promised safety. His wallet proved generosity. He handed out car keys like sweets, diamonds like confetti. "Take freely," he whispered. And they did. Some walked away with Porsches. Others flaunted brand new Birkin bags. Their laughter echoed through Banana Island like a hymn. But the hymn always soured. One girl returned home to Ikoyi, clutching a diamond bracelet. By dawn, her hands had blackened as if burned from inside. Doctors could not explain why her skin peeled to bone. She hid her arms in long sleeves, but her screams gave her away at night. Another girl posted videos from his poolside, bragging of soft life and God's favor. 3 days later, her face collapsed into wrinkles so deep her followers thought she was using filters. She deleted her account in shame. Toni's lesson grew sharper. The more his women suffered, the more radiant he became. He no longer looked 30. His reflection looked 25. His skin glowed without makeup. His eyes cut sharper than glass. Every night he grew younger, every morning richer. Still, rumor was everywhere in Lagos. Taxi drivers spoke of girls who left his mansion and never returned. Hairdressers in Surulere swore their clients whispered of serpents, writhing where no serpent should be. Barbers on the mainland told stories of women coughing maggots into their hands. Yet the line to Toni's bed never ended, because in Lagos wealth is louder than rumors. Then came Zara, just another girl that will be in Toni's bed. Before Zara's horror began, Zara danced in his living room under neon lights. The music was heavy, the crowd was beautiful, and Toni sat in the corner like a king, watching his kingdom burn quietly. He gave her a smile that felt like a gift, and she followed it upstairs. Downstairs, the DJ played a Amapiano until sunrise. Upstairs, the bed breathed like a living thing. By morning, Banana Island was littered with champagne bottles, broken heels, and secrets too heavy for daylight. Girls staggered into waiting Ubers, clutching envelopes, purses, and diamonds. None of them looked back, and from his balcony, Toni watched the lagoon glitter. He felt stronger, younger, invincible. He whispered to himself the phrase that had become his prayer. "I give freely," and the bed behind him sighed. Zara's Instagram page was a diary of pictures from Toni's room. Champagne flutes, makeup tutorials, and laughter that echoed louder than traffic. Pride often walks before the spirit of ruin, and Zara had walked proudly into Toni's bed. She had left with diamonds around her wrist, cash in her purse, and captions on her feed. "Soft life only. God is too good." Her followers envied her glow. But envy doesn't survive the night. The first signs came subtle. A strange itch beneath her skin, crawling where no fingers could scratch. She hid it beneath designer clothes, smiling for cameras, telling herself it was stress. But the itch grew. It became movement, something shifting inside her. At first she thought it was her imagination, until the mirror betrayed her. Her reflection delayed, like it had forgotten how to follow her. Once it even smiled while her face was blank. The second time, it frowned while she laughed. By the third, she stopped looking into mirrors altogether. Still, she could not resist the spotlight. One Saturday night, at Toni's party on Victoria Island, Zara arrived in a silver dress that clung to her curves. The music throbbed, phones flashed, and she basked in the attention. But midway through her laughter, it began. Her throat tightened. She coughed once, twice, then doubled over. Guests gathered thinking it was champagne gone wrong. But when she lifted her head, her mouth overflowed. Not with wine, not with food, but with maggots, writhing and spilling across the polished floor. Screams tore through the hall. Phones dropped. Shoes clicked backward. Zara clawed at her throat, gasping, her eyes wide with terror. "Help me," she choked, but her voice was already breaking into whispers not her own. Her skin wrinkled as they watched, decades racing across her face in seconds. The girl who had walked in glowing now looked like a grandmother in silk. Her diamonds clattered to the ground. No one reached for them. In the corner, Toni stood in his tailored suit, calm, beautiful, untouched. His lips curved into the faintest smile, as if only he understood the performance. When her eyes found his, pleading, He simply mouthed 2 words. I give. Zara collapsed. The party ended in chaos. Guests fled into the night, whispering of witchcraft, curses, juju. Some swore she had overdosed, others said she had been poisoned. None dared mention the handsome billionaire who had watched it all with calm eyes. But in salons, in bars, in taxis, the truth spread. Women lined up outside Toni's mansion, because in Lagos diamonds shine brighter than maggots. Nifemi, a secret investigation officer who has been on the case of Toni, was secretly in the party and came in as a caterer's assistant. She heard of rumors, and rumors were no longer enough. So she decided to be in the party. Zara's collapse had proven the curse wasn't just rumor. She needed to see the billionaire's secret with her own eyes. Get evidences like images, recordings, etc. for Toni to rot and sell. Banana Island loomed like another world beyond the gates. Guards in black uniforms watched cars glide through, their engines purring like lions. But money hides most sins. Nifemi wanted to get to the root of all these things happening, so she slipped in under the cover of service, posing as a photographer's caterers carrying trays no one inspected. Inside, Toni's mansion was alive with music. Women in glittering dresses laughed, clutching champagne glasses. Politicians' sons slouched on leather couches, smoke curling above their heads. Everyone acted as if they belonged in a Lagos dream. But Nifemi's eyes searched for the nightmare. She climbed the staircase quietly, her camera hidden in her shawl, her breath shallow. Upstairs, the noise dimmed. The hall stretched long and silent, walls lined with mirrors that warped faintly when she passed. Shadows twitched where there was no light. Then she found it. The room was dark, full of shadow. And in the center stood the bed. The room was enormous, draped in silk and shadow. And in the center stood the bed. It was too large. The sheets shimmered as if breathing. Nobody will guess there's a half-human, half-snake there, as it appears each time Toni makes love to any woman. She had heard victims describe it, but no description prepared her. The bed was not furniture. It was flesh disguised in fabric, a shrine masquerading as comfort, a womb that devoured. The air smelled sweet and rotten, like perfume laced with blood. She heard faint whispers, layered voices murmuring in agony. When she leaned closer, she realized they weren't coming from the room. They were coming from the sheets. She reached for her camera, trembling, but before she could press record, the bed exhaled. The curtains swayed, though the windows were sealed. Her skin prickled as if unseen hands touched her arms, and then the sheets shifted, folding upward like lips parting. Something slick and serpentine slid across the surface before sinking back down. Nifemi could not be hurt because Toni had not slept with her. That's the power she has over other girls. But her heart slammed. She stumbled back, nearly tripping, and that was when she saw the photographs, framed on the wall. Beautiful women smiling, each one famous in Lagos society. Influencers, socialites, mistresses, all the faces she had collected in her channel's archives. But beneath each photo, the glass was cracked. The cracks weren't random. They spread like veins, each fracture a map of decay. Nifemi raised her camera again, just as a voice whispered behind her. You shouldn't be here. She turned sharply. Toni stood in the doorway, handsome in his silk robe, calm as ever. His eyes gleamed in the half-light, more youthful than the last photo she had seen of him. The bedside behind her, almost pleased. Nifemi swallowed, her fear sharpening into resolve. I know what you are. Toni smiled slowly. Then you know you'll never leave this room the same. You've been watching me, he said softly, voice carrying the weight of inevitability. Turning gossip into story, story into legend. Do you know what legends really are? Nifemi gripped her hidden camera tighter. Warnings. Toni's smile deepened. No. They are invitations. My bed feeds on belief as much as flesh. Every time you upload, every time you whisper my tale into the world, you make me stronger. You are not my enemy, Nifemi. You are my partner. The sheet sighed again, voices groaning beneath the fabric. Shadows writhed against the walls, reaching. Nifemi's breath caught as she saw Zara's face flicker in the silk, wrinkled, decayed, her mouth moving soundlessly. Toni stepped closer, eyes burning like coals. You want power. I can give you more than stories. Imagine this. Not just narrating curses, but wielding them. Not just watching. The rich destroy women, but choosing who to save, who to sacrifice. Be my archivist, not my accuser, Toni said to her as it brings out a business suggestion. For a moment the temptation burned. Lagos was a city that devoured the weak. To wield power instead of just narrate it. To rise beyond shadows. The thought cut deep. But then she remembered the victims. The girl in Yoruba, coughing maggots. The mistress hiding her aged face. Zara collapsing in public. The cracked photos on the wall. Their voices layered in her head. Help us. Warn them. Nifemi lifted her chin. No, Toni. Your gifts destroy. Your wealth is blood. And your story. Her voice sharpened. You end here, Toni. She raised her camera and pressed record. The red light blinked. The bed roared. The sheets convulsed. Shadows shrieked. And Toni's smile faltered for the first time. His face flickered, youthful glow peeling away to reveal hollowed eyes, skin cracking like glass. No, he snarled, voice layered with centuries. Stop recording. But the camera saw everything. The breathing bed, the serpents, the whispers, the billionaire's mask breaking. And in Lagos, nothing hides forever. Nifemi ran and was screaming as Toni chased her down the hall, through the party, into the night. Behind her, the mansion pulsed with rage, but the camera was safe in her hand. She was quick to get to the party and she shouted, "Help!" Everyone halted. "This man is a ritualistic," she shouted. Everybody became surprised. "I saw this in his bedroom, ooh." Everyone paused, as she was tired from running. She played part of what she saw and people in the party watched. They held Toni and began to beat him to confess. Immediately, the police came in and got him arrested. Search warrants went upstairs and saw blood under the bed. They gathered all their evidence. Within days, her video spread worldwide. Not polished, not edited, just raw horror. Dark Lagos, story time caught in real time. Millions watched, millions whispered. And the whispers turned to warnings. Women stopped lining up outside Toni's gate. Politicians avoided his calls. His bed sighed with hunger, unsatisfied. For the first time, the billionaire who gave freely found no one willing to take. And as Lagos turned away, his beauty withered, his body aged, his wealth crumbled, his mansion grew silent. Not every man who gives freely is a blessing. Some gifts are curses wrapped in diamonds.